My name is Thomas Marcum, and for nearly 30 years I've been on a relentless quest to uncover some of the mysteries of our world. From the elusive Bigfoot to mysterious UFOs and the eerie realms of the paranormal, my journey has been one of adventure, discovery, and excitement. Join me as I delve into the outdoors and the unknown, fueled by curiosity and a passion for the extraordinary. This is not just research, it's a thrilling adventure of our world and the unexplained, and I enjoy every moment of it.
In the heart of North America's vast wilderness, there lurks a mystery as old as the towering trees and as elusive as the shadows at dusk. For centuries, tales have been told of a creature that walks upright, a giant known by many names: Sasquatch, Yeti, the abominable snowman, and perhaps most famously, Bigfoot. Eyewitnesses describe it as a massive, hairy, bipedal beast. Their accounts are often dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. Yet, they remain. Stories passed down through generations, experiences shared by those who claim to have seen the unthinkable. Is Bigfoot merely a myth, born from fear and fascination with the unknown? Or could such a creature really exist, hidden in the uncharted corners of our world? Join us as we journey into the heart of this mystery, exploring the evidence, the sightings, and the stories that have captured the imagination of millions. Welcome to In the Footsteps of Giants. We catch up with Thomas and his friend as they conduct some field research.
This is Lou Goletz. I'm with Tom Marcum, and I believe in Bigfoot. I have seen prints in the ground. I've seen the sticks. I've seen the broken limbs that can only be caused by Bigfoot, and it's unbelievable. I came from Pontiac, Michigan, which is like a 9-hour ride. I've seen Tom Marcum's videos, and luckily I met Tom 2018, just got a little taste of it, and been thinking about going on a hunt ever since, and finally was able to get up the time to do it. And I'm just blown away out here in the woods with Tom.
The phenomenon of stick formations attributed to Bigfoot, such as X markers and leaners, has intrigued cryptid researchers and enthusiasts for years. These structures are often found deep in forests, in places where Bigfoot sightings or evidence, like footprints, have been reported. Many believe that X-shaped stick formations serve as territorial markers. Some speculate that these structures warn other creatures, including rival Bigfoot individuals, to stay away from a particular area. Some researchers hypothesize that Bigfoot may use stick formations as a primitive way of communication. Leaning branches or stacked sticks could signal danger, food sources, or safe passageways. Another theory suggests that these structures could be created for amusement or social bonding among Bigfoot. This behavior would be similar to how primates engage in environmental interaction by rearranging objects. Although there is no definitive proof that Bigfoot is responsible for these formations, their appearance in remote regions alongside alleged sightings continues to spark curiosity.
No, I'm real excited of what I've seen and hope to see some more. This is I got 2 more days before I go back on Thursday to Pontiac, and Tom's got some more areas for us to go. The only reason we may have not as much today because it's of me and my energy level. You know, I don't want to overdo it. I told Tom, I hope he knows CPR, just in case.
I do.
I'm having a great time. This is a guilty pleasure for a 69-year-old man.
Are you ready to hit it now?
I'm ready, Tom. Let's do it.
All right.
The rest of the outing didn't yield any more evidence. Thomas decides to take Lou to the Pinnacle Overlook at Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. Pinnacle Overlook is a breathtaking spot that offers a panoramic views of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Historically, this overlook has witnessed the passage of Native Americans, pioneers, and even Civil War soldiers. Today, visitors come for the stunning scenery, where on clear days, you might even catch a glimpse of the Smoky Mountain. It was an exciting first day, but even more adventure awaited on day 2. Day 2 of the adventure required some off-roading. Thomas uses a UTV, utility terrain vehicle, to reach a remote location.
Okay, guys, me and Lou, we are out on our ATV. We're in a road that doesn't get traveled very often, and the last time I was here, the road was much better than it is now. It's been pretty rough, pretty muddy, but we got off and looked around at this little water hole, looking for tracks, and we heard a sound that sounded like a howl, but it was far off. So Lou is going to do a couple whoops for us and see if we can get any reply. Go ahead, Lou.
Woo! Woo!
And the thing is, we both heard that sound.
No, I did. Yeah, it was something.
Well, I vote we just keep on going around the road. What do you
Yeah,
think?
let's
Think
do
so?
it.
All right.
Or
we're
maybe-
maybe we'll run into something or find some tracks. So we're
We're
going
only a
to.
couple seconds away from a sighting.
I hope so.
That's what I always say. We're only but it has to be. Remember, it's on their terms if they want us to see them.
Right.
That's the way I view this. We're only a couple seconds away from a sighting, Tom.
Well, maybe we can have one. I'd love to have another one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
The day and adventure continued without any further events. Thomas and Lou could not explain the sound they heard earlier in the day. On day 3, Thomas and Lou traveled to a nearby lake in Harlan County. The lake and surrounding area is known for its unusual activity, which includes Bigfoot and UFO sightings. Thomas and Lou searched the area around the lake. Unfortunately, they did not find any evidence of Bigfoot. The remote location, surrounded by vast stretches of forest, provides an ideal habitat for a creature like Bigfoot. Next, Thomas scanned the distant shoreline with his camera. At first, he saw nothing of interest, then, a possible figure standing at the woodline. Thomas and Lou observed the possible figure as it occasionally seemed to shift positions. However, they were never able to make a definitive determination about what it was. With the day slowly slipping away, Thomas and Lou continued exploring the area. Though they found no additional evidence, their 3-day adventure yielded some intriguing discoveries. They discovered large footprints, several stick formations, and heard an unknown vocalization. Most remarkably, they captured footage of what could be Bigfoot, making this an adventure they would never forget. As Thomas and Lou wrapped up their unforgettable adventure, their findings only deepened the mystery surrounding Bigfoot. But they weren't the only ones with stories to tell. Elsewhere, another witness had experienced something just as compelling that would add yet another piece to the puzzle. Thomas embarks on a journey to meet witness and researcher Tom Thaler. Tom presented compelling photos and testimony detailing his experiences. So compelling that Thomas couldn't resist investigating further, leading him to travel to meet Tom in person. Upon arriving at the site, Thomas and Tom positioned themselves near the woodline for the interview. They had barely begun when something unusual took place.
I drove the truck back to the edge of the woodline. I've got Tom sitting in a chair. I've got the cameras out and set up, but none of the cameras are rolling yet. I'm checking the audio, make sure we got everything set up for that. The truck is just a short distance from where we're filming. When all at once, we hear a growl come from behind the truck. I immediately look at Tom and say, "Hey, did you hear that?" And he did. So I quickly went in behind my truck trying to find what made this growl sound. I circled the whole truck. I went over to the ravine next to the truck. There was nothing there. I don't know what made the sound. But next to the truck is that ravine. It's a small creek, some people would call it. And parts of it is very deep. So there's a chance something could have been in that. What, I don't know. But Tom and I both heard the growl. It was a little unsettling. But once we regained our composure, we continued with the interview.
Well, I've been interested in Bigfoot since the mid-1970s, beginning with a show In Search Of. But what got me really interested in my research was around in 1993. My dad, cousin, and I were four-wheeling up on a mountain near here. We stopped to take a break, and all of a sudden had rocks and everything start tumbling down the mountain at us. And then heard something that sounded bipedal walking off, and there's no humans around up there, so it really kind of piqued my interest in, hey, that may have been a Bigfoot, not knowing that they could really be in the Kentucky area.
Bigfoot's habit of rock throwing is a widely documented phenomenon, reported by both witnesses and researchers alike. The prevailing theory suggests it's a deliberate act, an intimidation tactic meant to drive intruders away, a warning from the shadows.
Very soon after that is every time I had a chance, I was out hitting the woods, trying to find different tracks, anything I could find to kind of prove to myself that what I actually experienced.
Let's talk about this property we're on right now. This is one of your research areas.
This property has been in my family since the late 1890s, and we're the only ones that's been on it.
Have you had a visual sighting? Tell us about any visual sighting that you had, your first visual sighting.
My first visual sighting was in around 2002. My ex-wife and I had been up turkey hunting on the top of the mountain, and it got to be, the turkeys were all going to roost, so we started heading back down the mountain. And we got down to a point, and then all of a sudden, off to the right-hand side of the road, there was a big, like 6.5 foot, very broad, very black, bipedal creature there. It walked the road in front of us and went down a steep mountainside that they didn't see there was any way a human being could have been what was doing it. Got off the four-wheelers and we watched it go until we couldn't see it anymore. And once it got to the bottom, it did kind of make a little bit of a groan at us. Like I say, it was just very broad. It was probably about, I want to say, 4 feet broad at the shoulders, kind of like athletic shaped.
And what year was that?
That was in like 2002.
2002? And the reason we're kind of laughing is that's twice we've had what basically sounds like a wood knot, because we are in an area where Tom researches pretty often, so We've had, since we've been here and while we were setting up, we heard a growl, and we just heard three tree knocks total since we've been here that are very close.
Deep in the heart of the wilderness, an eerie sound echoes through the trees, a sharp, deliberate knock. For decades, researchers and eyewitnesses have reported hearing these mysterious sounds in remote forests, often in areas linked to Bigfoot sightings. But what do they mean? Some believe these knocks are more than just random noises. They could be a form of communication, a warning, or even a territorial signal. Much like great apes use vocal calls or body gestures, could Bigfoot be using the trees to send messages? In some cases, investigators have knocked on trees themselves, only to hear a response, a second knock from the unseen depths of the forest. Is this an intelligent exchange, or merely coincidence?
So, Bigfoot's a big creature, he's got to eat. Oh, did you hear that? That was a wood knock. Because Bigfoot's a big creature, he's got to eat. Oh, did you hear that? That was a wood knock. Oh, did you hear that? That was a wood knock.
While skeptics argue that these sounds could be natural occurrences, woodpeckers, shifting trees, or even human activity, the mystery remains unsolved. But for those who have experienced the phenomenon firsthand, the knocks continue to fuel speculation about what might be lurking in the shadows of the deep woods.
The one experience that we had that kind of actually predated my sighting was out deer hunting one day, and sitting on a ground blind, and all of a sudden heard a big limb hitting the water really hard, followed by a big woo type noise. Since it was only archery season, I was afraid to really go take a look to see what it was, but now I'm thinking back of it, I'm just wondering if it's a Sasquatch either trying to intimidate me or maybe trying to get him, knock a fish out so he could grab a fish to eat.
And tell us about the ponds that's here so people understand what we're talking about.
On our property, there are 3 old co-wash ponds. At least 2 of them have fish in it. The third one I'm not so sure about, but I believe they could be using them as water sources. We have one to the east of the property, one dead center, and one to the west of the property.
There are some houses that's fairly close, but straight behind the property there's acres and acres of nothing, correct?
That's correct.
And tell us a little bit about the slide a little bit.
It was in 2020. We had a big slide on the mountain, and since that time they are still in the area, but they kind of slowed down some as far as a lot of the activity. It actually caused our property here to flood, where the little creek that runs through it pretty much apparently became a rampaging river.
Tell us a little bit about the possible food sources that are here that you know are here on this property.
Well, I know that there are deer on the property, there's turkey, squirrels, there's beech nuts, hickory nuts, and I'm sure there's other small game. I've actually seen raccoons and possums. There's lots of berries in the area when they're in season.
So we've established that we have water sources, food sources, and a lack of human activity. We got some people who live, probably several hundred yards to the right and to the left, but straight behind us there's nothing but basically dense forest.
And I almost never see another human being whenever I'm out.
All right, tell us some more about your experiences here on this property, things you've seen, things you've found.
I find all kinds of tree structures, arches, things like that, wood structures. Pretty much every time I go out I find something new that I hadn't seen before.
I just stumbled across this right here. It's old, looks like, but it's kind of looked like the start of a teepee type structure. And I do know, man, spider webs. I do know that Bigfoot's in here. I don't know if it stays in here year round or what, but and I seen another thing up in the mountains, but I didn't take a picture or nothing. I thought it was just odd. It was real low to the ground, but it was just a bunch of sticks like bundled up in like a little bitty small box like thing. It's weird looking. And then I come probably not 30 yards and I find this thing right here. But I wanted to share that with you. It's kind of interesting.
In the fall of 2020, my brother and I actually found a footprint just within probably 30 yards of the tree line.
What size was the print? Tell us what size it was.
Size of the print, it was probably about a 12, 13 inch print, very wide.
Any toe definitions?
Yeah, there was toe definitions in it. You could follow the complete outline of the toe. It was a complete print.
Did you actually cast it or anything like that?
I took a photograph of it. At the time, I didn't have any casting materials with me.
I'm back out in the woods. I didn't get to come out last week because it's such hard rain and thunder and lightning bug on me on the day I want to normally come. So I'm out today. I got a big bag of apples and heading to the gifting area, see what we can find. It's come a couple big rains, so if we find any tracks, they should be pretty fresh. Okay guys, one of my little stops here where there's a little bit of water seepage. It comes from out of this little holler here. And it seeps under the ground. Part of it goes that way. But there's always a little swampy area here. Well, here is an old track. I say old, I don't know, maybe, a week or two. You can even see the toe definition right there. That's the big toe. Goes over that way and all the way back. You're looking at probably about a 13-inch track. This old tree limb had fell over top of it, so it's wind probably blew the tree limb out. But yeah, that's an old track right there. I found everything. I found small juvenile tracks here to large tracks like this, 11, 12, 13-inch tracks. But yeah, that's a track for sure. Can you see that big toe right there? Can you see that big toe? That's a track, and there's no reason for somebody being back in here barefooted. But I'm going to take a picture or two of it as well, and then I'll continue on to the gifting area. Looks like it might be an old one over there, but it's really degraded if it is. But yeah, that one there. But see, who knows where the next step is. So there's so much leaves. Hard to say where the other one come from. I mean, it looks like there might be a little slippage right in there. Could be hit. Just hard to say, but that's a track there. But I'm going to take a picture or two of it, and then I'm going to ease on toward the gifting area.
About 2 months ago, I was sitting behind the farmhouse just glassing the field up here for deer, see any kind of critter crossing. And through the binoculars, I saw looked to be about like a 6 foot so tall reddish brown creature, kind of looked like it was peeking around the cedar tree at me. And it was getting close to dark, so I was like, well,
That's another knock.
yeah.
I don't know if the camera picks it up, but that's several knocks.
And anyway, I saw it kind of walk back up towards the woods, and I was like, tomorrow morning I'm going to go up and check out the area, see if I can find any tracks or any kind of sign that he was there. And the next morning I came up, and as the day before there wasn't an arch there, but there was an arch there, and it was very intricately interwoven up at the top. So I kind of put two and two together and assumed it was a Bigfoot that did it.
Right there, and this is the tree where Tom saw. It was the brown one, correct?
Yeah.
Where his head kind of poked out a time or two, and then you see him walk back in behind you, right?
Yep. few months ago, I'd came up to look at some, put out some trail cams, and had like little rocks and acorns being pelted at me all day. And eventually, after probably about an hour of this, I heard a big like woof, and then that pretty much immediately stopped. It's almost like an elder was scolding some juveniles to make them stop, to leave the human alone. He's not going to bother us.
Did you ever feel any, like you were in any kind of danger?
From those, no. I did have one experience where I felt like I was in danger if I went into the woods. I was planning to go up in the woods one evening, and then all of it started heading up this way, actually, and something was telling me, don't go up there today, you could be in trouble. And then, so I kind of listened to my gut instinct and didn't go. And then later on that night, like around midnight or so, the mountain got really loud. A lot of hollering and screaming type sounds. And then I didn't have time to go up the very next day, but then later that fall, I went up and there was looked like about an acre of like broken saplings, trampled down grasses, trees all with limbs broken all over them, like a war zone.
Do you think maybe there was some kind of confrontation there?
I firmly believe that the noise I heard that night was a confrontation, whether it be for territory, some kind of breeding rights or something. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, that's one of those, it's unknown mysteries that I'd like to solve.
Across the dense forests of North America, from the rugged hollows of Kentucky to the shadowed timberlands of British Columbia, stories persist of a creature not only elusive, but territorial. Eyewitnesses have described encounters involving multiple Bigfoot figures in the same vicinity, not as a family unit, but in confrontation. In Canada's Ontario province, one account details two towering forms locking in physical combat, marked by roaring vocalizations and flailing arms. A moment that left the witness shaken, and the clearing strewn with broken branches. In the Appalachian region, reports have surfaced of auditory confrontations between groups, chest beating, tree knocking, and rock throwing, all interpreted as territorial displays. Locals speak of valleys that go quiet for weeks after such incidents, as if the land itself bears witness to the dispute. The Pacific Northwest brings its own tales. Deep in Washington's Olympic Peninsula, a hunter reported hearing guttural growls echo from opposite ridgelines, followed by the crack of limbs and movement of massive bodies. The sound suggested a ritualistic face-off, almost primate-like in its cadence, territorial posturing, not aimless rage. Cryptid researchers theorize that Bigfoot, if it exists as a social species, may mirror behaviors found in known primates, defending habitat, asserting dominance, and controlling resource zones. These tales contribute to a compelling behavioral profile of North America's most enduring mystery. These reports suggest that the creature isn't just avoiding humans. It is negotiating its own internal map of the wilderness.
I just know that every time I come down here and go out in the woods, I don't feel like I'm alone. It's like I may not see them, but I feel that they're watching me without me even knowing it. It's like you just have that. Sometimes I think some of these are almost try to feel like they were my protectors.
That was 3 knocks. Did you hear it?
Yes, I heard that.
Make that 4. Just done another one. What do you think these creatures are? What, if you had to put them in a category, what do you think they are?
I think that they are flesh and blood creatures. I almost think that at least the group that I have here, I know that people say there's different types, but these seem to be more like a relic hominid. They seem like they're more people-like. I think they actually have like a family structure. I feel they're more human-like than animal.
As our witness shares his experience, we step into one of the most enduring debates in the search for Sasquatch. Some believe Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, an undiscovered species, grounded in biology and roaming the remote wilds. Others suggest something stranger, an interdimensional being, capable of slipping between realities, explaining the creature's elusive nature and the eerie high strangeness often reported alongside sightings. Two worlds, two theories, both chasing answers to one of the greatest mysteries of the modern age.
There have been times that I've heard like chatter in the woods. I wouldn't necessarily call it samurai chatter, but it just sounded like high pitch. I don't know how to describe it. It was just like a high pitched chatter.
And it's real fast.
Yeah, real fast. And I have, like I say, I have also heard like the growls and howls and that. But as far as like, I believe they have a form of speech.
Among cryptozoological circles, reports of Bigfoot vocalizations have long suggested a capacity for complex speech. Eyewitness accounts often reference rhythmic, guttural sounds that seem structured, occasionally resembling fragmented human language. Some researchers theorize these patterns may represent a form of proto-language or mimicry, adapted for forest acoustics and pack communication. Others propose a unique linguistic system, one deeply tied to territory, emotion, or even ritualistic behavior.
We had talked earlier that you got some neighbors within a few hundred yards the one's a little closer, but not from where we're at. But do you think the neighbors have experienced anything as well? Or have you spoke with them and know for sure they have or haven't?
I haven't really spoken. I've only spoken with the one that's closest as I'm sitting here to my right. And I think he's seen some things or heard some things down here, but he doesn't seem to really want to talk about it.
In Appalachia, silence holds power. Folks don't just keep quiet because they're unsure of what they saw, they keep quiet because that's how you respect the unknown. Psychologists might call it cognitive dissonance, the mental friction between personal experience and accepted reality. But here, it's deeper. It's the unspoken agreement that some things aren't meant to be understood, only witnessed. Whether it's fear of ridicule or a lifetime of being taught not to stir up what sleeps in the holler, the result is the same, a story left untold. A truth buried in the fog.
There's at least 2 or 3 times a year I'll come down here and just spend a week down here just to get away from everything and also continue my research.
Have other people in your family experienced these Bigfoots here on this property?
Yeah, my cousins have. I've had a couple of my younger cousins have been out deer hunting and they've heard like stick breaks and wood knocks behind them. My dad has. He's had a couple of experiences while he's been out deer hunting. Like limbs breaking, something walking up a hollow beside of him.
October 1994, Bath County, Kentucky. A 14-year-old hunter is settled into his ground blind with his bow in hand. The sun sinks low behind the ridge, and the forest begins to hush. The young hunter observed a herd of deer suddenly scatter in panic. Moments later, a massive, black as coal figure, estimated at 8 feet tall, burst through the woods on 2 legs, chasing the deer. The towering and fast-moving figure passes within 20 yards of the hunter. It is tearing through the forest like it owns it. It knocks over a rotted pine tree with ease and continues into a pine thicket. The hunter, camouflaged and heavily scented to mask his presence, remained frozen as the creature passed. Terrified but unharmed, he bolts the woods. At home, breathless and pale, he tells his mother what he saw, and her reply is,
"Yeah, they've been seen around here."
Back in, I'm going to say this was probably back in 2008 or 2009, I found a track within like 50 yards of the house.
So it was possibly been down around the house,
yeah,
checking in on you.
The only reason I found the track in the grass is because it had slipped on like a little bit of a bank, and I could see the slide. And
I noticed around here too, there's not a whole lot of like mud holes. I mean, there's a little stream and stuff, but on the actual property itself, there's not really no dirt. It's all grass.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to find a track unless it slipped or maybe a frost was on and you could see them that way or something. Yeah. Okay, Tom, when you come down here to stay, how many people are normally with you?
There's usually me, my dad, and my cousin. Occasionally, no more than 5 usually.
No more than 5 people?
Yeah.
And do you ever come by yourself?
Yes, like when I come down for the weeks, I'm usually all by myself.
Solo?
Yeah.
And while you're here investigating, do you go out in the daytime or at night or both?
I mainly go out in the daytime. I've not really done a whole lot of night investigation. I've been out a few times. I seem to have more success with finding things during the daytime, as far as obviously it's easier to find like arches and structures and stuff in the daytime than as far as like even interaction type things like noises I've been whooped at and howled at and tree knocked a couple of times at night, but a lot more active during the day. These guys seem to be more like active daylight hours instead of being nocturnal.
One of the enduring mysteries surrounding the creature isn't just where it lives, but when it moves. In the Pacific Northwest, nocturnal sightings are dominant, often tied to eerie vocalizations and trail cam anomalies. But Appalachian witnesses, especially hunters and hikers, have described brief daytime visuals of tall figures darting silently through fog or watching from ridgelines. Whether diurnal or nocturnal, one pattern remains: Bigfoot seems most active when humans are least prepared to see it. That alone fuels theories of strategic movement, or perhaps, something more mysterious. Maybe it's simply a biological trait we don't yet understand.
My first sighting was right around dusk time. My second sighting was probably about 11 o'clock, and it was off this property. It was more up the hollow from us.
How deep have you explored back into this woods here behind us?
I've been to the backside of the mountain.
Which, can you estimate about how far that is?
Oh, I'm probably going to say it's probably about 1.5 miles going across the mountain.
And what's on the backside of the mountain?
Nothing. Well, there are some old, like, strip mine roads, but...
Well, I think we've got those everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no human... no human settlements. And some of the most unusual stuff is just, like I say, I think hearing the chatter is kind of the most unusual thing, just because it kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that at all. And I think the juvenile kind of rock tossing and getting scolded for it, that kind of, to me, that was kind of unusual. My plans are to get more involved with gifting and try to spend more time out in the woods as I can. I'm probably planning on, like, next spring when it starts to warm up again, I'm going to plan on camping up in the woods, just see what happens, stay up there all night and just see what happens all night.
Have you tried gifting before?
I have a little bit. I've had some success with it. I've mostly done like fruits, food items, like not what I would consider natural foods, like apples, things they could find around here to eat. And I put them in places where I was pretty sure a deer or something else couldn't get them, and they have disappeared. So
it was now time to explore the property. First, they filmed the area where the wood knocks had been coming from.
Now this is where I think the knocks were coming from when we were doing the interview.
Yeah.
But we had some that was closer, which could possibly have been a woodpecker.
Yeah.
But the ones coming back this way were not, and there's no way it's a woodpecker.
Yeah, it's too crisp.
It almost sounded like a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Hitting a tree or something. And I have no idea what the growl was.
Yeah, the growl is what's got me puzzled.
Because that was close, and we never did see it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and walk up in the mountains a little ways, and see if we can find anything or see anything. I heard something running there just then.
Yeah.
You see, that's right back over in there again. I don't know, let's go up this trail a little bit and we'll see.
This stretch of the mountain is steep and unforgiving. As they press farther into the wilderness, something unnatural emerges from the chaos, an X-shaped formation. It doesn't mark a trail. It marks a moment, a message, or perhaps a warning.
I think you see an X.
A what?
X.
Over.
It may not be, but see that broken tree going up at an angle?
I see that, yep, I see that. Yeah, I see it, Tom. Let's see if I can get to a little better angle. Yeah, I see it right there. I can see it right there, Tom. That's what it looks like, the X. Good eye.
Yeah, well, right on the other side of that X is a pond.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Let's see, right there is the X. And this is the old strip pond.
Yeah,
this one have fish?
This is the one I don't think has fish.
Don't have fish? Well,
but it still looks like clean. There, I know the frogs love it.
well, it's probably got cattails in it.
Yeah.
They will eat cattails.
Cautiously, they move closer. The X looms ahead, crude yet deliberate. Every step stirs the air as dry leaves crackle. It's as if the forest itself is watching. No trail. No markings. Just the X.
Let's see, there's a little bit better shot of that X, maybe.
Yeah.
And one thing we should point out, since we come up in here, the knocking has quit.
Yeah.
The knocking's quit.
Yeah.
With the shadows growing long, it was time to descend the mountain. The day had delivered its share of mystery, unexplained wood knocks, a guttural growl that was unexpected, and the discovery of that strange, deliberate X marker. Back at the foot of the mountain, Tom reflected. After years of field work and countless questions, Tom shares a few words of advice for those still chasing answers.
Are there any advice that you would give someone who is just starting into Bigfoot or wanting to get into Bigfoot?
I would say just don't give up on it. It takes a while before you actually start getting results. Don't go out expecting to see one every time you go out, even if you are going into a squatchy area, because it's just, everything seems to happen on their terms and whenever they want it to happen.
As shadows stretch across the ridge and wind threads through branches, the mountain begins to settle. What was hidden remains hidden. What was found still waits to be understood. The day's journey brought us deep into silence and sound, knocks in the timber, the pulse of unseen motion, the growl that left more questions than answers. Each echo was a fragment. Each footprint, a whisper. The X formations we discovered, was it a boundary? A signpost? Or something more intentional, woven into the fabric of this land? These forests have kept their secrets for generations. Some speak of sightings passed down through families, hushed stories told around fires, warnings carved into memory. Others chase something more elusive, not a creature, but an understanding. A pattern in the chaos. A voice behind the sounds. And perhaps that's the deeper truth. Not every sound needs solving, and not every sign is meant to be understood, but if you listen closely, this land speaks. You just have to know when to hear it.
I just heard something. I don't know if it was a tree knock. I just heard something or somebody talk.
With every trek, every turn through undergrowth and fog, we're learning to listen better. To see beyond fear and folklore. To stand in the quiet and let the unanswered shape the adventure. Because this isn't the end. It never is. The mountain still calls, and the silence still speaks. Somewhere out there, a knock echoes, a shadow stirs, a trail bends just out of view. And so we go again. Not to solve, but to seek. Not to prove, but to walk alongside mystery. Future paths will lead us farther, into deeper woods, older stories, stranger signs. And whether what waits is flesh, fable, or something in between, we'll be ready to listen.
And I believe in Bigfoot. I have seen prints in the ground. Remember, it's on their terms if they want us to see them.
Right.
That's the way I view this. We're only a couple seconds away from a sighting, Tom.
Up to the right-hand side of the road, there was a big, like 6.5 foot, very broad, very black, bipedal creature there. It walked the road in front of us. It's just, everything seems to happen on their terms, and whenever they want it to happen.
As this incredible journey comes to an end, every moment has reminded us of the spirit of adventure and the thrill of seeking the unknown. The road ahead is calling, full of new horizons and untold mysteries. So we travel onward to the next great adventure.